What's up, world? How y'all doing? It's your boy, AJ the Black World Traveler. Today is Thanksgiving Day. I don't call it Thanksgiving Day because it's a day that basically, well, the Native American indigenous people were like slaughtered and they came to some kind of peace agreement with the Europeans. And so it's a national holiday here in the United States today. Our family don't really celebrate it for that cause because, of course, our people were slaughtered, through the Trail of Tears, and plus a lot of Native American and indigenous people, basically suffered, which a lot of them do celebrate it for the purpose of what it is. I really don't. So today, my video is talking about what gave me the passion, why I am so excited about, learning about history and kind of teaching it. I always had a passion for like black people, and I feel that most black people that I meet when we talk about history, they always reflect on the negative parts of us. I always trying to give us a more positive light of ourselves, because usually when black people in America talks about history, they always talk about all the negative things. It's always us being conquered, always us being treated wrong, or being enslaved. We never hear the good things, and we never hear the positive sides of us doing something positive in our history. You never hear about the Buffalo Soldiers. You never hear about how black people traveled the world and navigated, and taught even Europeans how to navigate certain parts of the waters. Like, most black people, they seem to always want to lean on the negative parts of our history, and that's what I'm trying. My goal is to change that, because our history is not based on us just being slaves and just being conquered, and us being in breeding camps, and us being mistreated by slave owners and being thrown overseas through the slave trade. I'm tired of that story. It's just psychologically not good for us as people. Whenever we talk about those things, they're negative, and whenever we talk about ourselves always being conquered, and then it's confusing, because you hear a lot of people say, well, we were kings and queens, and and we were kings and queens, and we were warriors, and we were powerful. Well, how are we getting overthrown by so many people and enslaved by so many people? That's what we were. So to me, I have a problem with that, because I know that we weren't just out here just being pimped by people and being controlled by people. I know the history of us, around the world, black people around the world, we were the first settlers. We were the first ones to navigate. That's why when you go to all these countries, when you go from South and Central America all the way to Australia to Africa, in this region, it's always black people. All the indigenous people are dark skinned and brown skinned, because of our travels through history. Thousands of years we've been traveling over this whole continent, over the whole globe. All 6 continents. And I mean, people weren't really doing much in Antarctica, but the other 6 continents, we basically got our feet planted in most places. I mean, you will see some identity inside of Europe, but we mostly, conquered sometimes the Africans and did conquer some parts of Europe. The Moors and some of the other, blacks did go in some of the areas, even as far as going up to, to Jerusalem and Palestine and Iraq, Iran, all those areas. Those are parts of Asia, but we were mostly in the southern parts of Asia. And when we were in Asia, we actually migrated most parts. You see more black people in Southeast Asia than North Asia. You'll see more Middle Eastern and Arabic people in that northern part. Same as in the Orient. You'll see more people of, more of Orient Asians, like Chinese, Japanese, Koreans. You'll see more of that similarities up there because of where they're located. But most of the dark-skinned people were in the south parts of Asia, mostly through all of Africa. In modern day, you don't see too many black people in North Africa. There's a lot of bad treatment to some blacks in North Africa, like in Egypt and like areas like that. Morocco. You see more of people in those regions, but most dark-skinned Africans are mostly in other parts of the Africa, the West, the South, and in the East, and even in Central Africa. And then you'll see a lot more of the black Americans in North, South, and Central America, the Caribbean. You'll see a lot of us here who actually came here and settled as well, because see, our history is not just about slave trade and us being traded to Europeans and being put on ships and being treated bad. we have to also. I like to always also talk about our travels as indigenous people on the globe, how we traveled to the Americas, how we were here in the Americas. You know, the Pangea, of course, some people don't believe that the Pangea happened before man was here, but there's no way that this big Earth, where we mostly traveled through, that we weren't here in the Americas, because when you go to the Americas, you go to South Central and North America, and even in the Caribbean, we're majority of the people. You know, when we're dark skinned people, we're the majority. Us and the brown people are more majority. So how do you have the dark skinned brown people and the light skinned brown people? How are we all just slaves? I mean, yeah, a lot of people got enslaved on the land when the Europeans came, because a lot of us never really experienced anything like that. When the Europeans came to these countries, they had, most of these Europeans that came here, they were prisoners. They were gangsters. They were the ones who were put on the ships the first time. When the Europeans started coming over, they were sending their prisoners off. So with their prison mentality and their brutal mentality, that's how they were able to take over a lot of places. But our history is deeper than just being overthrown by Europeans. You know, we also have a good history of us being here as navigators and coming here and setting our, basically planting our food and, blending with the Asiatic and the Africoids, blending together and mating together, and we were all in the land together. There was no animosity between us. I mean, some tribes probably had their little differences, but they worked it out. But there was no really turmoil until the Europeans came into the Americas. And that's the reason why when it comes to Black American and blacks in Europe, there's not really, you can't compare the two, because most blacks in Europe and like Canada, they came over as immigrants, where in North, South, and Central America and the Caribbean, we came over as free. We came over here as basically discoverers, came here and found the land and landed on it. The Africoid and the Asiatics came here and we lived on the land together. And people, keep saying that, oh yeah, when Native Americans came from Asia, well, if you can go down to South and Central America, these are the indigenous people that's been for thousands of years. They don't look nothing like Asians. They look more like Southeast Asians, if anything. You see Southeast Asian people, and you say people, they say from the Siberians, they don't look like Siberians. Some do, but a lot of them don't. So that's why, some of the history that's been taught to us has been kind of crazy. But my passion is to give black people in America, in the whole America, the positive light of our history, except always the negative of us being down and being destroyed and us being mistreated. We have to. It's better for us to actually lean on our positive side of the good things that we brought to this country, because we brought a lot of good things to this country being from over here, being here, and us just being from Africa and just brought over Africa, just that story has to stop. Because even if we were African or Asian, because some came as African, some came as Asian, we don't know how we got here, but the land, when man navigated and went across the land, and the land did split, man, everybody was in their own places where they were when the land started splitting. So that's why everybody's not African, because the land, man been traveling through the whole entire planet for all these years, and everybody were in their own places. There's nothing wrong with being African. There's nothing wrong with being Asian. There's nothing wrong with being a Melanesian Asian or a Black African. It's just the problem of the separation. I don't want to see black people separated. This is my goal. I'm not trying to beef with my African brothers or my Asian brothers. See, the Black American man is usually always very, a lot of the historians and people who teach our history in America, a lot of them are combative. They want to debate. They're trying to prove they're right. And to me, that's not the purpose of doing this. I'm not trying to prove that I'm right. I'm trying to prove that we all the same. We all might look the same, but we're all different. We all came here different ways. Nobody came, no one tribe just came no one way and just set a shop. There was a lot of other people that came here. There was a lot of different black people that came here to the Americas. There's a lot of brown people, light brown and dark brown people, I call it, that came here, other ways besides slavery. Most people were already here before the slave trade even started. So the slavery thing is the reason why I demuck a lot of those things, because a lot of those things were made to separate us. I mean, there were slaves brought over here. They weren't a whole bunch. And then when they did bring slaves over, they were different because nobody spoke the same languages. That's the true thing about it. The thing is, we need, when Black Americans, for some reason, we have I ain't gonna lie, man. I love us, but I think a lot of us, we have a very negative stereotype on ourselves. And it seems like we don't lean on the negative parts of it. A lot of black Americans get offended that we don't talk about the negative things. I don't want to talk about that stuff. That stuff's not helping us. Talking about this, us being in slavery and us being in breeding camps and us being whipped by the slave master and how they use the gun to control us. I don't believe none of that stuff, man, because we were all warriors. Everybody was a warrior, you know, and we lived on peace before the European came here. And I ain't knocking nobody European because you can't do nothing. You ain't got to apologize for what your ancestors did. You don't have to apologize for the past because you weren't here, you know. But the same thing, black people in America, a lot of the black men are very sensitive, and they want to debate and fight about the truth. And man, it's not about, everybody's truth is different. Like my truth is different from your truth. Like I told you, I spent time in Australia. When I started learning black history in Australia, I looked at black history different because I only knew about black history in America, which was a lot of it was falsified, and it was written by non-blacks. You know, our history books in school, from college and in high school and junior high, whenever you read about black people, it was always slaves, and I used to get very upset because I didn't understand that. It's like, why every time when we talk about our history, we're always, you know, on our back. Someone's always got us by the neck. So. And it never made sense when they described the whole slave trade thing. It never made any sense to me as a kid. That's why, and I asked God to show me. And when I was 18 years old, I joined the Navy. When I went to my first port, I was in Japan, and then when I went to the Philippines, that's the first time I saw black Asian people, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, you know. Then I went to Singapore. I saw black Asian people. When I went to Thailand, I saw dark-skinned Asian people. I'd never seen dark-skinned Asian people. A lot of Thais are pretty dark, you know. They're all different complexions, just like black people. You know, most Asian people are different complexions. You go to the Philippines, you go to Indonesia, you go to any parts of those countries, Vietnam, you're going to see light-skinned Vietnamese, dark-skinned Vietnamese, some thick. You're going to see women thick, you're going to see some lean. You're going to see some with big butts, small butts. You're going to see in Southeast Asia, you're going to see a lot more darker-skinned people, and everybody's all different complexions, just like we are as black people. So, yeah, so my purpose is all about just, you know, spreading a positive side of us so we can see ourselves in a better light. And like I say, and so when you do travel the world, understand that we're everywhere. Like you're gonna go to certain parts of Asia, you're gonna see Vietnamese with afros. You're gonna see that. You're gonna see Japanese people with, you know, thick hair. You're gonna see it. You know, it's just what it is. Like, but our history is not. It shouldn't be about just us being slaves. And us just, you know, just being African and then thinking that, oh, well, we came from Africa and we got to go back to Africa because we're black, you know. And then you learn about in our history in America, you know, we just a lot of our history that was taught by our elders here, that they taught us who we were and where we were from. And you have that happening too, where a lot of blacks don't agree. And see, the thing about it, I think, you know, all of them are true. It's just that everybody came a different route. Nobody came one route. No black person came one route. No Europeans came one route. Everybody came a different route when it got to the Americas. But we all are here. So it's not about competing. It's not about, you know, battling and trying to prove that you're right or wrong. And it's not about insulting people. Like how Umar Johnson was saying, calling, you know, black elders pretendians and like I saw this video of the Shinnecock tribe in Virginia, and there was a lot of black people in that tribe, and some people were making comments like, well, why do the people that look more like a Native American looks kind of strange when they see the black people? Well, bro, we blended with most of the black and the brown man has been blending for thousands of years, especially in the reservation, especially, you know, throughout history. You know, the indigenous and the native history. The Africoid and the Mongoloid or the Asiatic they always blended together. We always made it together. We always been on this land together. So there's never been a beef. You know, it's just nowadays people are making it a beef. But I'm not trying to battle with nobody. I'm not trying to debate you or what you believe. I'm just trying to show that we should be able to all, you know, share our different experiences because everybody came here a different direction. And that's what I learned about living in Australia. When I lived in Australia, I found that, you know, there were different black people, you know, and brown people that lived in the Pacific, and they all came from different places, but they all respected each other. like when you met people from Torres Strait Islands, and then met Aboriginals, they're indigenous to Australia, but they're two different tribes, but they're both indigenous. And the Torres Strait Islands is like it's a little far from the mainland of Australia, but they're still indigenous. And it's amazing when you go there, when you especially living in Queensland. Like I lived in Cairns, I've been to Townsville, Innisfail. You go to those places, you're going to see a lot of black people in northern Australia. And it's beautiful to see because this is a history that we were never taught in America. And that's the reason why I always bring Australia up, because that's like the Africa in Asia, basically. Australia is originally a black person's, actually it's originally a black country. You know, the Aborigines and the Torres Strait Islanders are the original people there. And people, even historians, some say that they came from Africa, some say they came from Asia. They look more East Indian. Some of them, just some look more African. The thing about it, doesn't matter which way they came, they're there. And it's good to go. And if you don't really understand and agree with some things, and you haven't really traveled the globe, I advise you, if you haven't been anywhere, get your passport, man. Go see these places. You know, I speak of Australia, I speak of New Zealand and Samoa and Fiji and Tahiti and Torres Strait Islands and Solomon Island and Thursday Island. These you're gonna see people that look like me and you in America. You know, Papua New Guinea, and it's like all these places that you hear people talk about. A lot of black people, even when they go over to America, from my experience, when I've seen a lot of blacks from America that go to Australia, they really don't mingle with the Aborigines and the Islanders. And I did. And so that's the reason why I was able to see it. I'm just kind of, I wish I would have found my old tapes. I got old tapes of me actually in the homes with them. I mean, I was at a house party in Palm Island, and Palm Island is like an Aboriginal island, 2.5 hours away from the mainland of Australia in Townsville. And that's where my ex-wife's family's from. I was there for like 5 days. It was amazing, man, being on Palm Island. I never been on an island before. And just being able to see black people in Australia, and then seeing, you know, actually living with them, like living in their homes and getting and eating their food, and, you know, seeing how similar we are in culture. Like when you live with Aboriginal and Islander people and you're from America, you're not going to feel out of place. You're going to feel right in place. And I felt in place. And I wish I would have had some of my tapes that I did film, because I had some tapes that I lost. Because I was back there in the year 2000, I was back there. And so the tapes that I had back then, I can't find them. But if you like my content, please like and share, and enjoy your holiday. If you do, you know, celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday for what it is or not. If you're just there with family, enjoy your day. And it's your boy, AJ the Black World Traveler. I am out.